Good morning. So today I'm going to be talking about the books I read in the month of February. So this video is going to be short and sweet. I mentioned it earlier, but if you didn't catch those videos this year, my overall goal is only 50 books, but I'm also moving across the country currently. Pardon the dog toys. I'm moving across the country currently, and February was a really busy month because we moved in the month of March. So we had to get a house on the opposite side of the country and do a bunch of virtual tours. I'm very lucky where I have family that was able to go and look at places for us, and because of that we were very, very lucky and able to find a place. But that also means we had to do a lot of paperwork and a bunch of things that coincided with East Coast time. So my whole schedule has been crazy. I think I've read less this month than I probably have since when I was looking at my reading journal since last February, where I also had quite a lot going on. So kind of an interesting trend there, but I read 5 books this month. And this month was kind of a hit or miss, but let's go over it. So first off the bat, I read Neon Gods by Katie Roberts. I think it's Katie Roberts. It is a Hades and Persephone's retelling. It is definitely adult rated because there's very explicit sexual scenes. That being said, I rated this a 2 out of 5. Though the smut was all right. I just was not a fan of the fantasy setup of it or the reimagining of the mythology. It really wasn't for me. I thought it was a little bit lazy, if I'm being honest. And I do really love the Hades and Persephone storytelling. So for me, it was just a miss, but it's definitely one I would recommend if you liked the Touch of Darkness series by St. Clair. I think Neon Gods is probably like one step up. So next I read These Violent Delights by Chloe Gone. This is one I really liked. I took it for what it was. It's a fun, like, teen fantasy that leans heavily into Romeo and Juliet. If you don't really know what this is about, this is set in 1920 Shanghai, where Roma and Juliet are from opposite family gangs, and a monster starts attacking people in the town, and these two have to team up to find out what's going on. So it is enemies to lovers, back to enemies, back to lovers. I had a great time with it. It was a lot of fun. Chloe Gone takes a lot of time exploring what 1920 Shanghai felt like, and I thought that was really, really fun. And I will be picking up book 2 shortly. I already have it on my TBR card. Oh, and I rated These Violet Delights a 4 out of 5. Next, I picked up Daughter of Moon Goddess by Sue Lin Tan. This one I rated 4.5 out of 5. I just felt like it would have been that 5-star if it could have benefited from an editor just a little bit, is the only thing I felt, but I had a great time. It is very tropey, so know that going in, but I had a lot of fun with it. It did exactly what I needed to. It was beautiful lyrical writing. It was fast-paced. I liked the main character. They were very likable. The love interest in this was fun and kept me entertained, so definitely would recommend. It's not groundbreaking. It's not going to change your idea of fantasy as you know it, but it's going to be a good time, and it's beautiful. Really beautiful writing. So now that I'm reflecting on it, I actually had a great reading month. I read a lot of books that I really enjoyed, because next I finally finished To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. This one I rated 5 out of 5 stars, but before you go to pick it up, I would say this is going to be a really polarizing book. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was almost melodic in the melancholy and the bittersweetness of how the microscope they put on what it means to be human and to err. But that being said, if you're going in just because you are a fan of A Little Life, this is not going to be the book for you. You're not going to enjoy this. So basically, we're following 3 different timelines with 3. They are separated, and they're all 100 years apart, and it's in a fictitious America where being gay has been legalized and the states is divided into separate countries. It's really, really interesting. I really enjoyed it. The way I read this book was each of these 3 timelines ends in a very open-ended way. So I feel like if you're pessimistic, you're going to read it as such a bittersweet ending and sort of the pinnacle of like someone's been duped, or you're going to read it basically as a pessimist and you're going to take away a very different ending than if you're optimistic. The reason I say that is I read this at the same time my friend did, and we took very different things away from the ending. So depending on your mindset is depending on what you're going to take away and what the message from these stories are going to be. And it was just so brilliantly done. Hanya Yanagihara is bar none one of the most talented writers I think we are dealing with today. That being said, I do not think this is going to be the book for everyone. It is a mammoth. It's really heavy. It's not necessarily dense, but it's very, very slow paced. It is 100% just focused on characters and introspection and a look at humanity and the lives we lead. Is very purposeful in its storytelling, but that being said, it was very meandering, and while it's a 5-star for me, this is not one I would recommend to everyone. You really want to be the type of reader that this was written for. It's definitely not a book for everyone. Oh, it was so good, so good. And then I finished out the month very strong by reading and rating 5 out of 5 stars, Jade War. Again, I think I spoke about this in my last wrap up, but this has become one of my favorite fantasy series. It's so different. It's so unique. It's a world that I understand and have come to love. Characters that they are so not black and white. They do things that you hate, but you still root for them. There's other times where you don't and you really question what Fondeli is trying to do, but Fondeli is so ambitious in what she's doing with this world, but by strides absolutely achieves what they're looking for. I literally gasped when I was reading the end of this. I couldn't believe what was happening. If you've read it, then you know I was crying one second and gasping the next. And it was just like Fondeli to do because I did it in book 1 as well. Just when you think you know what's going to happen, they turn it on its head and give you a different ending. And it was wonderful. I cannot speak to this enough. So those are the 5 books I read in the month of February. Again, probably one of the fewest. Oh my God. No, it's not. I just didn't rate it. Hold on. I think I just blocked it out of my memory because I hated it that much, but I read House of Sky and Breath and I rated it like a 1 star. I technically rated it a 2, but let me explain. So I rated it a 1 star until you get about, let me actually find it for you. Here. So at page 779, I would rate this a 5 star. Therefore, it gets a 2. It hooked me just enough that at the end, I definitely want to read book 3. But my God, this was the most, first of all, how dare she make it this big and how dare her editor allow it? She needs a new editor because this was nonsense. Most of this was nonsense. The A plot quickly becomes, not quickly, let me rephrase that. The A plot might as well have not existed. There is a specific trope Sarah J. Maas uses quite often that is so irksome and so lazy. It is such lazy writing and a cop-out. And of course, here it came in this book. The pacing is terrible. The world building is terrible. We go back to the meat market in an exploration sense. They're looking for something or someone, because I do want to keep the spoiler free, but we go back to the meat market and everybody splits up. They're going through different places. Can I tell you what the meat market looks like? No. Can I tell you what happens in the meat market? No. I know it's a bad place. I know prostitution happens there. And I know gambling happens, like a lot of nefarious things. I couldn't explain it to you because they say, let's meet back here in 30 minutes. Cut to, they're back to Bryce's apartment after they've looked through the meat market. So there's zero world building. Every sense of exploration they go to in this story, we don't follow them. We just cut to exposition of what they did or didn't find. It's the most frustrating part about their writing, where I cannot be invested in a world that I don't explore and I don't understand. I understand in the most basic sense, but I can't feel, I can't be there, I can't know what the characters feel like going into a certain part of this city because I haven't been there with them. It hasn't been explained to me. Sarah J. Maas very much is a tell, don't show kind of writer, and I hate that. I really, really hate that. This is such lazy writing. It is such a disappointment, and I don't know where somebody gets off reading this book and telling everybody it's a 5 out of 5 star. And even the end that I did enjoy, I say enjoy very loosely, even the end in which I'm intrigued to follow along to see what's happening, it's still a cop-out. It is still a cop-out. It is still a cop-out because there's zero investment still that I have in this world. It's a cop-out. It's boring. It's something that we've seen time and time again with Sarah J. Maas. And like, it is so disappointing when you really love a writer and you just see them almost become their own worst enemy of refusing to grow. So if this was a teen novel, first of all, it would be like this much, which it probably should be, but as well, it would be held to a different standard to what I'm holding it, because it wasn't even fun. It's bad writing. Grammatically, there were some weird choices made here where I would be reading and I would reread a sentence, not because I didn't understand it, but just because I was baffled that they chose to word things the way that they did. And I think it was to elevate their writing, but simplicity sometimes is the key to what you're looking for, because really it just came across as like you didn't really know what you were doing. And this is your 3rd series. This is well beyond like your 15th book that you've written. Maybe it's like your 14th, but this isn't your first rodeo. And this was so sloppy. I cannot explain how disappointed I was reading this. I was actually angry while I was reading this because I could feel it was a waste of my time, which is probably why I didn't actually jot it down. I put this bitch back on the shelf and I did not look back. I wanted to forget I read it. And I still kind of do want to forget I read it. Like, I don't even really want it on my shelf, but it's here and I have book 1, so it'll stay here. But what a screaming disappointment this was. I can't remember the last time I've rated something a 1 star, but this really feels like if we were going to judge what a 1 star felt like to me, it would be this book. Absolutely lazy and long-winded. It was so self-indulgent. What a waste of my time, honestly. Anyway, so rant aside, those are all the books I read this month. That is a total of 6. Again, very slow month. It's going to be a very slow year. This month, we pack up everything you see here and we make our way to the East Coast. And then, of course, I'll be unpacking when we get there. So there'll definitely be some content related to that. But for now, that's going to be it. And on that note, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.